worked out just well. Are you reading?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, good, you're here.
Could you all please rise for the posting of the colors and the national anthem? On behalf of the Lorain County Police Chiefs Association, I want to thank you all for coming to honor law enforcement today. It is an honorable profession that stands in the gap between good and evil, to preserve the peace, bring order to chaos, and maintain this idea called America. To accomplish these tasks calls for great sacrifice from those who serve. No greater sacrifice than made by those we specifically remember today. I would like to invite the Honorable Hans Schneider to the Village of Wellington.
Everyone can please sit. Good morning. On behalf of our community and the Wellington Police Department, I'd like to welcome you to the 2016 Lorain County Police Memorial. It's an honor for our department to host this year's ceremony. Collectively, I'd like to thank the many men and women who have put forth countless hours of their time over the past several months to make this tribute as beautiful as possible. Their self-proclaimed mission was clear: to ensure that this ceremony is befitting of the sacrifice made by the men we gather here to honor and remember. If you were here last night for the candlelight vigil, and by the looks of today, they have without a doubt accomplished their objective. It is a solemn privilege to be here to honor the fallen heroes of Lorain County law enforcement, as well as those who have served here before moving on to other communities. Their sacrifice, whether it is near or far, will not go unnoticed, nor will it be forgotten. It takes a special type of person to go into law enforcement. Instinctively, people run from danger. A police officer willingly runs toward it. They know without their commitment, there would be no security, and without their courage, there would be no justice. Simple freedoms that we take for granted, such as to walk safely down our streets, would not be possible without the men and women of law enforcement. Each and every day, police officers put themselves at risk to keep their family, friends, neighbors, and community safe. Most return home safely to their loved ones at the end of their shift. But some are called upon to make the ultimate sacrifice. It is a heavy burden that every law enforcement officer and their family is not only aware of, but one that they accept. With every name read today, we honor their memory. With every thought and prayer, we remember their sacrifice. These brave men will continue on in our hearts and serve as examples of the best of what our communities, county, state, and in turn our nation has to offer. Thank you for allowing me to share in this special ceremony. God bless those who have fallen and their families, and God bless all of you who serve and the families who wait for you to return every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask Pastor Brian Burke to open us with an invocation.
Let us be in a spirit of prayer. As we gather this morning, Holy One, we celebrate the service of all the women and men in blue who enforce society's laws to keep our communities safe. With thanks for all law enforcement professionals in their varied roles, this morning we come to you to once again pay our respects to those who gave their lives in service to the greater good. We pray that those who serve today and in the future, as well as those of us who benefit from their service, will remember and honor the very costly price those officers paid in fulfilling their duties. As we hear memories shared and words spoken today, keep the lives, the service, and the sacrifices of these officers in our minds and our hearts. We bring this prayer to you in your name. Amen.
Now I'd like to ask our Master of Ceremonies, Tina Drake, the principal of the high school, to come forward.
Good morning and welcome to the Village of Wellington. It's truly an honor to be your Master of Ceremony for this amazing and memorable event. As the principal of Wellington High School, it's been a great pleasure working with the Wellington Police Department and their SRO program this year. This program has helped improve the atmosphere, attitude, and safety of our schools. It has given me a great sense of comfort and security knowing that the WPD has been in our district each and every day this school year. We are here this morning to honor and respect the many individuals that have sacrificed and given their lives for the sake of others. I too have a loved one that puts his life on the line every time our local fire department is needed. I know and understand the fear and worry you face whenever you hear the sound of that siren. Our family has been very fortunate enough to have my brother return to us after each call. I cannot imagine the pain and sorrow families feel when their loved one is not returned safely to them. And for that, I give you my utmost respect and gratitude. Along with our fallen heroes, you too have sacrificed your own personal lives for the sake of others. And for this, you are also a hero. I would like to thank everyone for being with us today and sharing in the memory of the many police officers who have given their lives for the sake of others and their communities. Thank you. Please welcome Connie Smith-Buckland and Marcia Smith-Crawford, daughter of Wellington officer Edmund Smith, end of watch, May 4th, 1957.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Connie Smith-Buckland, daughter of Edmund Smith, end of watch, May 4th, 1957. When Chief Barfield asked me to speak, I thought, oh my God, I am not a public speaker, and I certainly didn't get that gene from my mother. I'm the one who sits in the back row of the church, but I told myself to follow what the bracelet I wear every day stands for. Be brave, and do this for your father. I was only 6, my sister 3, when our father was murdered in Wellington. I don't remember a lot about my father, just bits and pieces, but I do remember how proud he was to wear the badge and the uniform. I found this poem one day while surfing the web. It was written by an unnamed officer from Ottawa, Canada, and it says, in my feelings, much better than I can do it myself. It's called The Color Blue. I remember flashes of a man I barely knew. They said he fought for what was right. He wore the color blue. I remember silver in a shape upon his chest, lots of things around his waist, a strong and sturdy vest. I remember kissing him as he put me into bed. I'm off to catch the bad guys now, it's what he always said. And I remember waiting and watching out the door for him to come and hug me like he'd always done before. I'm starting to forget now exactly what they said. They were holding Daddy's hat, and they were bowing both their heads. He saved another's life, they said, as Mommy stood and wept. He died for what was right, they said, and then they turned and left. Mommy told me later that the courage that he had, he gave his life for others, and he sifted good from bad. He wanted you to understand he wore the color blue to make the world a better place, especially for you. Now I'm left with flashes of a man I barely knew. I called that man my father, and he wore the color blue. I am brave now and have moved up in many rows in church. Thank you, brothers and sisters who wear the color blue. Be brave, stay safe. God bless you all. You are all my heroes. Thank you.
I'm Marcia Smith-Crawford, Edmund's youngest daughter. Last year, I attended the memorial in Vermillion. After the ceremony, Chief Barfield asked my sister Connie and I if we would be interested in saying a few words this year. I didn't think I could possibly do that. The following day, all I could think about was how meaningful the memorial was. I decided that the least I could do to honor our father and the rest of the fallen officers was to say a few words. Thank you. All of you officers here today and everywhere that put your lives on the line every day, I thank you. Who would have thought that on a spring day in 1957, Wellington, Ohio, that a police officer would be brutally murdered? My sister Connie was 6 and I was 3 at the time. I remember seeing my mother cry and all the flowers and friends at the funeral home. My father's brother, a police officer in Bay Village, lifted me up to see my dad in his casket. Those are the only memories I have of my father. Our mother was a high school business teacher in New London at the time. She went on to teach and raise 2 little girls without a father, not an easy task. When you leave for work, always tell your loved ones you love them. From the bottom of my heart, thank you all for what you do and for not forgetting.
I would now like to introduce Holly McTiernan, retired Oakwood police officer and widow of Officer Joshua McTiernan, Twinsburg Police Department, end of watch, July 13th, 2008. Good morning. I have to start by saying I'm not very familiar with the city of Wellington, but I'm proud to be here to help honor our fallen brothers and sisters in blue, so thank you for having me. My husband was Canine Officer Josh McTiernan. Josh worked for the city of Twinsburg for almost 12 years. On the early morning hours of July 13th, 2008, my husband was on patrol with his canine, and he made a traffic stop. That would be his last. My husband was senselessly killed by a monster named Ashford Thompson. Ashford Thompson shot my husband, and after my husband collapsed, Ashford Thompson bent down and rested the muzzle of the gun on my husband's forehead and pulled the trigger 3 more times. Ashford Thompson got in his car and left my Josh on the side of the road where he took his last breath, alone. My husband's gun was still holstered, and his fearless canine was in the police cruiser struggling to get out to save his master. The memories of that horrible morning will forever be etched in my mind. The dreaded knock on the door, the race to the hospital, the doctors, the shock, and holding my husband's cold hand. I ended that week with a folded flag. I was faced with a new label, that being a widow, a 32-year-old widow with a 3.5-month-old baby girl. My Josh was a great man. He had an infectious laugh and a great sense of humor. Josh had friends everywhere we went, and where he didn't have a friend, he surely made a new one before he left. My Josh was intelligent and a damn good officer. I was determined to fight for justice for Josh, and that justice was found when Ashford Thompson was sentenced to death row. It will be 8 years this July, and Ashford Thompson is still sitting on death row. Our beautiful daughter Thea just turned 8 years old, and she is my world. We talk about her daddy quite often, and his pictures are always on display in our home. Thea is a spitting image of her father, but she has just a little bit more hair. I can honestly say without her, I'm not sure I would have made it this far. In closing, everyone needs to promise to never forget our fallen. It is true in saying we must move on with our lives, but we shouldn't stop talking about our fallen, and we shouldn't be uncomfortable when their names hit our lips. They gave their all, and so why shouldn't we keep their memories alive? Like Josh, so many, far too many, officers have died in the line of duty. In Washington, D.C., at the National Law Enforcement Memorial Wall, there are over 20,000 names etched in stone, honoring their ultimate sacrifice. Some end of watch dates are as far back as 1791. I'd like to read the names of some officers who lost their lives in the line of duty on this day. Usually during my research for officers killed in the line of duty on the day of my speech, I find one officer. But on this day, May 11th, it's a sad day where we lost 5 Ohio police officers. Patrolman John Constantino of the Campbell Police Department died by gunfire on this day in 1920. Patrolman Dennis Griffin of the Cleveland Police Department died by gunfire on this day in 1923. Patrolman Roy R. Nightwine of the Cleveland Police Department died in a motorcycle accident on this day in 1924. Patrolman Edward J. Murphy of the Columbus Division of Police died by gunfire on this day in 1935. And finally, Patrolman Steve J. Huber of the Cleveland Police Department died by gunfire on this day in 1967. Thank you for inviting me here today, and thank you for honoring our fallen. Stay safe. At this time, please welcome Peter States Marshal of the Northern District of Ohio, who will provide our keynote address.
Well, first, thank you, Holly, and thank you to the Smith families for some excellent words. It is great to be here back in Wellington. I first want to thank Al Libby for inviting me here today. I had the opportunity to work with Al 30-something years ago. And again, it is great to be back here in Lorain County in Wellington, where I started my law enforcement career more than 3 decades ago. Yes, I started at the age of 12, somewhere around 12. It's great to see all the chiefs and officers here today. Sheriff Stamedi, I know you're out there somewhere. Chief Whiteley, so many chiefs, officers. My good friend and classmate Marty, good to see you again, sir. We have worked with many law enforcement agencies across Lorain County here over the years, and we work very closely together. Many here have been a core partner of our Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force, headquartered here in Elyria, Ohio, with our Lorain County Division under Chief Whiteley. We've had outstanding partners here in Lorain County. Officers here, as you know, are very dedicated, very professional, and very committed. They are an outstanding group to work with. I'd first like to thank everyone out there in the audience today. Those of you that serve on our safety forces, thank you for your commitment to serving others, to serving our communities. And thank you to those in the audience who support our police officers and all of our safety forces at all times, but especially in the most difficult times when it is needed the most. Thank you very much. As some of you know, I come from a long line of law enforcement officers. My father is a retired Deputy United States Marshal. I have a brother and sister in law enforcement, and my great-grandfather was a police chief of Alliance, Ohio. I have had the honor and privilege of being in law enforcement for the last 33 years, the last 29 in the federal system, and serving the last 13 years as United States Marshal. I have seen firsthand the dedication, the commitment, the risks, and the rewards of our profession. In 2003, we created the Northern Ohio Violent Fugitive Task Force, inspired by the senseless murder of Cleveland police officer Wayne Leone, who was slain by a fugitive on the run for 7 months. A dedicated police officer, a family man, and we were determined as a group that his senseless killing would not be in vain, that something good had to come from this horrible situation. Since that beginning, our task force collectively has arrested nearly 40,000 fugitives, many right here in Lorain County with our Lorain County Division. Currently, we have over 350 officers from the local, state, and federal systems assigned to our task force. Dedicated officers working all across Northern Ohio, doing a very difficult job and dangerous job, arresting the most violent in your communities. They put their lives on the line every single day to make our communities a safer place, like every single police officer does daily in our nation. Even when so much of what we do is being scrutinized and second-guessed today, when decisions that we make in a split second are analyzed over the course of days and weeks and months, from the safety of a news studio or office suites. This week, Police Memorial Week, is an important week for all of us in law enforcement. It is our week. It is a time to honor all those who serve, but especially our fallen officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the cities and the nations that they serve. Keeping alive memories like Wayne Leone and Wellington officer Edmund Smith, who died so many years ago, and memories like Elyria officer James Kerstetler, or Lorain County Deputy Sheriff Kenneth Tomaszowski, or Deputy Sheriff John Palermo, keeping their memories alive, and so many, many others. It is a week to honor their memories, to let their loved ones know that we have not forgotten, and that we will never, ever forget that each and every one of these life's loss affects us very personally, very personally. A few years back, I had the honor of speaking at a funeral of an Akron police officer who was shot and killed, who confronted an armed subject even though he was off duty to protect those around him. At great risk to himself, he ended up paying the ultimate sacrifice and ultimate price. And I stated then, when one of us bleeds, we all bleed. And it seems lately, with all that is going on in our nation, we in law enforcement are bleeding a lot. And anymore, it is a weekly and daily, it seems like a daily occurrence. Earlier last year, my agency, the United States Marshal Service, lost a deputy in the line of duty, another young man with a bright future, a job he loved, a beautiful wife who was pregnant with their first child. He also came from a law enforcement family, with his father serving in our profession. He loved his job, and it showed. Many of his co-workers talked about his love for his job and his enthusiasm for helping people and wanting to make a difference. He was shot while pursuing a fugitive wanted for a double homicide. Now there's another mother and father without a son, another wife without a husband, another child without a father, just because he went to work in the morning trying to make a difference and make his community safe. We all bled that day as we bleed when any officer loses his or her life. Although we have seen the violence against our profession continue over the years, from right here in Lorain County to Twinsburg, to Akron, to Cleveland, to Toledo, to Youngstown, from small cities to large, nowhere is immune. From New York to Los Angeles, officer after officer paying the ultimate sacrifice for their nation. Good men, family men, warriors doing their job, and they paid the ultimate sacrifice. When one of us bleeds, we all bleed. When one of us is hurt, we all hurt. But although the violence against our profession continues, so does our strong bond, our special bond, which is evident by everyone's presence here today. We are like no other profession in the world. Through good times and bad, thick and thin, in no other profession in the world will you see person after person lined up for miles, standing for hours in lines at a wait, in the pouring down rain, as I stood with other officers in Aurora just 2 weeks ago, for one of our fallen comrades. Sometimes for one we never met or personally knew. Our profession is like no other profession in the world. It is our calling, our duty, our responsibility, a commitment each and every one of us has accepted, each knowing that the battles would be dangerous and long and could be deadly. So even with all that has been going on in our country lately, we know we will persevere through this. We know we are dedicated, committed, and determined. We know that we truly make a difference in people's lives. And that is why we do this every day, every single day. We know we are part of something very special. Experience good days that are really good and bad days that are really bad, and learning to deal with that together. We know and value the gift that each day is for us, to be part of something so special. And today and this week, we stand together with our fellow law enforcement officers, and despite the difficulties that we have faced, leading with all our brothers and our sisters who have lost their lives, we stand strong, and we remain committed and dedicated and willing to continue with each other in a way that only a person who has taken our oath understands, knowing that we are part of something very, very special that God has called each of us to be part of. The big difference between our profession and other professions is this. Yes, when one of us bleeds, we all bleed. However, the blood that flows through the veins of a police officer is unique, like no other. It is what binds and unites us and our profession together as one. And only we can call it our own. The blood that flows through the police officer's vein is blue. That only one who carries our badge can call their own. May God bless all of you here today that served, and all of you out there in the audience today that support our safety forces during our best days and during our worst. Thank you.
Welcome to Wellington Police Honor Guard and Corey Corson, son of W. Dyke Corson, will now place the Lorain County Police Wreath Memorial.
Honor forward! Honor oath! Go! Ah!
Representatives of each of the affected Lorain County law enforcement agencies will offer remembrance to the officers who gave their lives in service to their communities.
George Brenner, Wellington City Marshal, end of watch, July 17, 1883. City Marshal George Brenner was shot and killed by August B. Terry, 19, whom he attempted to stop and question on a local street shortly after midnight on July 17, 1883. Unbeknownst to Marshal Brenner, the suspect, along with his companion, who had just burglarized a nearby office of the W&LE Railroad Depot. As Brenner approached, a shot pierced his neck, mortally wounded. Brenner was able to walk to the stairway of his apartment above the Otterbecker harness shop and died in the arms of his wife. Young was dragged out of a local livery stable. A revolver was found near him in a hay mound. Terry was captured in a boxcar in Kipton, Ohio. Convicted of second-degree murder, Terry was sentenced to life in prison December 20th, 1883. Terry set fire to his bunk and died of burns in prison March 23rd, 1895. Young received a 5-year sentence. Gone but not forgotten, George Brenner.
Spooner Crapo, Rochester Marshal, end of watch, Friday, November 11th, 1905. Marshal Crapo was chasing kids who were trying to jump a boxcar. During the chase, the marshal stepped from behind a boxcar into the path of a train running in the opposite direction. He was struck and died. Marshal Spooner Crapo served with General Custer in the Civil War. Gone but not forgotten, Spooner Crapo.
Constable Rupert Becker, Night Watchman, Amherst Police, end of watch, April 10th, 1916. On April 10th, 1916, at approximately 9 p.m., Rupert Becker was summoned by Marshal Miller to Church Street to discuss a problem with quarry worker Martin Bishkoff. Bishkoff had an argument early in the evening with a bar patron. Marshal Miller learned Bishkoff brought a .32 caliber revolver and ammunition from the local hardware store after the incident. While advising Becker and Constable Fields, Bishkoff exited a bar from across the street with a gun in his hand. Marshal Miller yelled out for him to put the gun away. Bishkoff then raised a pistol and began shooting at the officers. Watchman Becker was shot 4 times, sustaining wounds to his back, hips, and arms. Marshal Miller and Constable Fields were also wounded during the attack but survived. Bishkoff was apprehended several minutes later after running from the scene. Gone but not forgotten, Rupert Becker.
Detective Sergeant David H. Barnes, New York Central Railroad Police, end of watch, Wednesday, July 27th, 1920. On the evening of July 27, 1920, Sergeant Barnes made the arrest of 3 transients and delivered them to the Leary Police Station. Sergeant Barnes returned to the area of East Bridge Street Railroad undercut to locate 2 more suspects. As Sergeant Barnes walked the tracks, a suspect lay in wait, concealed behind boxcars. 3 shots rang out, the first striking Sergeant Barnes in the groin and knocking him to the ground. The second missed his mark. The third shot was fired point blank, striking Sergeant Barnes in the head and killing him. The suspect, a notorious bank robber who had been in numerous shootouts with the police, was convicted and sentenced to life in prison for the slaying of a second police officer and died in prison. He was never prosecuted for the murder of Sergeant Barnes. Gone but not forgotten, David Barnes.
Fred J. Weber, Patrolman, Lorain Police Department. End of watch, December 23rd, 1923. Patrolman Fred Weber was shot and killed while attempting to apprehend a drunk male. He had responded to a restaurant on Broadway Avenue and attempted to arrest the man. The suspect fled and Patrolman Weber gave chase. A struggle ensued and both Patrolman Weber and the suspect were shot as fellow officers arrived on scene. Investigations found that the fatal round may have been fired by another officer, but it could not be proven. The suspect was charged with shooting with intent to kill and served 1 year in prison. Gone but not forgotten, Fred J. Weber. Charles C. Deal, Patrolman, Lorain Police Department. End of watch, November 6, 1925. Patrolman Deal was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver while directing traffic at the scene of an accident on Lorain-Elyria Highway. He succumbed to his injuries while en route to a local hospital. 3 days after the accident, a man turned himself in to face manslaughter charges, but a grand jury failed to indict him. Gone but not forgotten, Charles C. Deal.
Franklin J. Stroll, Deputy Sheriff, Lorain County Sheriff's Office. End of watch, June 13th, 1930. On Wednesday afternoon, June 11th, 1930, Deputy Stroll was responding to the scene of a serious traffic accident in North Ridgeville. The deputy was passing a streetcar near the intersection of Cleveland Street and Olive Street when the car made a left-hand turn directly in front of his police motorcycle. Eyewitnesses said the impact hurled Deputy Stroll through the air, landing him on his back. Deputy Stroll was taken to the Elyria Clinic on West Avenue, where he died 2 days later. Friday morning, June 13th, 1930. Gone but never forgotten, Franklin J. Stroll.
Howard B. Taft, Patrolman, Elyria Police Department, end of watch, August 18th, 1942. Patrolman Taft was taking fellow officer Andrus home. Andrus, on the force 1 month, was off duty. The two responded to a minor accident. Taft's investigation determined that Nathaniel Spurriel, whose expensive coupe had collided with another car, was intoxicated. Taft took the wheel of the coupe to bring the Clevelander to police headquarters, asking Andrus to follow in the cruiser. About 100 feet from the accident scene, Taft stopped and left the car to free the front fender that was scraping the tire. Spurriel removed the keys from the car. Taft ordered him to surrender the keys, and an argument began. Taft retrieved the keys and ordered Spurriel back in the car. Both Officer Andrus and an eyewitness said that Spurriel fired a shot from the car and then jumped out and grappled with Taft. Taft pulled his pistol, fended off the resisting man. Andrus, unarmed, attempted to go around Spurriel's car and grab a rock and circle around behind him, but was driven back when Spurriel shot at him. Spurriel followed Taft into the street, both men firing. Taft sustained gunshot wounds to the abdomen and hip, but managed to put 3 bullets in the heart of the assailant, killing him instantly. Andrus rushed Taft to the hospital, where he died 90 minutes later. When Spurriel's car was searched at the police department, the nude body of a dead prostitute was found in the trunk. She had been beaten to death. She was identified as being involved with Spurriel, and they were to appear for trial that week in connection with the operating a house of prostitution. Gone but not forgotten, Howard B. Taft.
George Kirk, Patrolman, Lorain Police Department, end of watch, March 30th, 1944. Patrolman Kirk refused to ride in a police car because he enjoyed nabbing burglars while walking the night patrol beat on Broadway Avenue. Patrolman Kirk was found face down at the bottom of an elevator shaft, having fallen from the second floor of the Lorain Hardware Warehouse. To this day, it is unexplained as to why the door to the shaft was unlocked and found and open a scant 18 inches. The mystery of Patrolman Kirk's death remains unsolved. Gone but not forgotten, George Kirk.
Edmund G. Smith, Patrolman, Wellington Police Department, end of watch, May 4th, 1957. On Saturday, May 4th, 1957, Patrolman Smith was shot and killed while responding to a domestic disturbance at 300 Cortlandt Street between Walter Bioman, 40, of Cleveland, and a former girlfriend, Miss Helen Bistro. As Officer Smith arrived, Bioman fled the scene. Officer Smith gave pursuit. An armed Bioman stopped and exited his car at Barker Street and Maple Street. Patrolman Smith and the suspect exchanged shots, of Patrolman Smith's gun jammed. The suspect fatally shot the wounded officer as he tried to crawl back to his patrol car. The suspect was sentenced to death and executed in 1959. Gone but not forgotten, Edmund G. Smith.
Michael J. George, Deputy Sheriff, Lorain County Sheriff's Office, end of watch, January 9th, 1961. On Tuesday, January 3rd, 1961, an accident occurred when deputies were pulling one cruiser attached with a tow chain to another. When the troubled car started, Deputy George got out to unhook the chain. As he did, an approaching car struck the rear of the cruiser, pushing it forward. Deputy George was caught in the middle and suffered critical internal injuries. Deputy George was transported to the